America deserved, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
We're there to partner with them. We're not there doing our own thing. We're there partnering and training
In a video
and
game.
equipping and
Didn't he go to like literally lose his eye because a brave soldier fucked his eye hole with their dick?
Hello everyone, welcome to NeoUnrealist. Now right off the bat, I want to show you how absurd this Hasan Piker situation is. I deliberately went through the two most talked about video clips of his now infamous diatribe about the United States deserving what Ilhan Omar described as
some people did something.
This guy then has the nerve to follow it up by saying, in a video game. I mean, as if that repudiates the silly thing he said, but between that and praising the guy responsible for Dan Crenshaw's eye being gone as brave, I deliberately called out every word that the YouTube Wrongthink AI would flag this video for. Now, I did this to show you that even after sanitizing the video clips of all the Wrongthink words, that there's still a good chance this video will get slapped down with the yellow, not suitable for most advertisers label. So you see, a regular old channel like this one, even with the silencing of the naughty words that he said in those clips, the offending words that YouTube says are so terrible that thousands of corporations are going to refuse to place ads on videos in which they appear, or on channels that say them. This Hasan Piker fool, he could apparently work for a YouTube channel heavily promoted by YouTube, the Young Turks, and he could explain this garbage away no problem. I'm guessing that last night's Young Turks stream where he went up on there wasn't taken down, or that it doesn't not have ads placed on it now. So, look, understand something right here. I personally am not saying that Hasan Piker should be penalized in any way by Twitch, which is where he said these things. It was on the Twitch platform. But nor do I think that he should lose his gig with the Young Turks because he said these things. But I'm not the one who set the standards now, am I? Do you think if forget me. Do you think if Steven Crowder or Sargon of Akkad said the same exact things? Well, let's say they weren't even talking about Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Let's say they directed those remarks towards, I don't know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Think they might have a problem? You think if some non-leftist commentator had praised someone who did harm to AOC, did permanent damage to her, and called the perpetrator brave, that he'd even be let on the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur last night? They wouldn't even let him in the building. Social media companies would be issuing strikes or just outright banning their accounts. It's a double standard. Either we could all speak freely or no one can. But enough with the corporate censorship stuff. Let's examine the two statements that Hasan Piker made and address them on the substance. On the subject of the day, when some people did something, this is the biggest load of bull. I can't believe that 18 years later, this fool is still mouthing that propaganda. The people who did something do not act based on any country's foreign policy. It's a justification used for propaganda purposes, basically to satisfy leftist audiences. The people who did something conduct operations in just about every kind of country you could imagine, including countries that are diametrically opposed to the United States and other countries. They do operations in countries that are even non-aligned and have no significant political actions whatsoever on the world stage. Recall that at the time, 18 years ago, when some people did something, there was no conflict that the U.S. was involved in the former territory of the Babylonians. That wouldn't occur for another 2 years in 2003. Now, we don't have to guess what the people who did something's motives were. They wrote them down for us in a letter, as well as the standing decree that was issued in 1998 during the presidency of Bill Clinton. But in that letter that was revealed in November of 2002, reason number one cited in the, quote, letter to America, as it's called, the creation of Israel is a crime which must be erased Each and every person whose hands have become polluted in the contribution towards this must pay its price and pay for it heavily. Notice, they are not referencing a return to the 1967 borders or an end to being present in any unincorporated territories. No, the grievance is the very creation of the state itself, that it must be completely erased. Does Hasan Piker claim that the United States of America, in order to avoid future instances of some people doing something, end all diplomatic relations with that country and withdraw diplomatic recognition of them as a sovereign state? Because no half measure, no step short of complete and total compliance on that point would satisfy that grievance of the people that did something. Furthermore, he additionally cites situations that the U.S. has literally no influence over. Unless he's calling for this, which not even Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib have the courage to openly declare the thing that the people that did something want. In regards to totally cutting off the relations with that specific country. He also cited Russian activities in Chechnya. What does that have to do with the United States? We neither participated in Russia's operations in Chechnya nor supported them. In point of fact, the U.S. publicly opposed those operations and expressed a desire for them to come to an end. India's activities in Kashmir? In 2001, someone explained to me how the U.S. had any hand in that. India, during the preceding period, had founded the non-alignment movement. That they weren't aligned with the U.S. or the USSR. As a matter of fact, that was pretty much a bunk because they really had closer relations to the USSR, to be frank. But close relations between the U.S. and India, that's just a phenomenon of recent decades, the last 20 plus years. Prior to 2001, the U.S. had a closer working relationship with Pakistan, much to India's irritation. India, remember, they founded the non-aligned movement in 1961 and lasted pretty much into the early 1990s. Only in the 1990s did relations between the U.S. and India begin to change for the better. I mean, for crying out loud, when India had its last major problem with Pakistan in the 70s, when that went hot, the Nixon administration sided with Pakistan over India. So again, Hasan Piker doesn't know what he's talking about. The people who did something were citing things as grievances against the U.S. that we not only didn't do, but actually opposed on the international stage. How are we to avoid some people doing something to us if we're blamed for things that we not only had nothing to do with, but opposed them? Then the people who did something, they also listed the fact that they are not allowed to form a theocratic totalitarian superstate out of all the countries in their region. Is Hasan Piker, who I believe is an atheist, prepared to call for the formation of a theocratic superstate in that region to be under the rule of the people who did something? I mean, this is nonsense. Grievance number 2, cited in the aforementioned letter to America to explain why some people did something, where the leader of those people cites American immorality as the second motivating factor for his people doing something. Note, he makes no mention of any foreign policy measures here. It's a complete rejection of America's domestic qualities and features. The demand is to stop the, quote, immorality and debauchery that has spread among you, close quote. He goes on to say we need to do stuff like, we call upon you to be a people of manners, principles, honor, and purity, to reject the immoral acts of fornication, same-sex relations, intoxicants, gambling, and trading with interest. Which of those is a foreign policy? So unless Hasan Piker is prepared for the U.S. government to make adultery a crime, same-sex relationships a crime, bring back alcohol prohibition, outlaw gambling, and make it a crime to charge interest when lending money, he again needs to shut his pie hole about it. Now, as a matter of fact, this isn't a letter as a grievance, and I'm not making this up. I will read it to you word for word. Who can forget your President Clinton's immoral acts committed in the official Oval Office? After that, you did not even bring him to account Other than that, he made a mistake. After which, everything passed with no punishment. Is there a worse kind of event for which your name will go down in history and remembered by nations? He's citing Bill Clinton getting Hummers in the Oval Office from Monica Lewinsky and not getting impeached and imprisoned over it as a reason for his people doing something in 2001. Is Hasan Piker prepared to call for the prosecution of Bill Clinton for perjury and his incarceration in order to head off future occurrences of some people doing something? Now, I can go on and on with the ridiculous things that they go on about in that letter. They complain about women being permitted to serve as flight attendants on commercial flights. The letter complains that the United States only criminalizes the trafficking of drugs. They demand that the mere use of drugs be criminalized and punished harshly. Is Hasan Piker proposing more enforcement and harsher sentences for recreational drug users in the name of not, quote, deserving the people who did something's ire? They blame the U.S.'s permissive attitudes towards the ABCDLMNOP community for the spread of AIDS. Does Hasan Piker want to crack down on non-hetero relations too? I mean, lastly, at the end of it all, the people who did something call for Americans to cast aside their beliefs and to embrace the faith of the people who did something as the only way to ever achieve a permanent state of peace with them. Because even all the other crap that they mentioned above is only considered the bare minimum to achieve even a temporary truce with the people who did something. They claim to despise us from the very core of their souls, regarding us as haughty and arrogant, and that they'll eventually get around to knocking us over no matter what we do anyway. And this kid wants to talk about U.S. policy. Unbelievable. That's all for this New Unrealist. If you want to help the channel out, hit like for this video, leave a comment on it, click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell next to it. Set it to all to keep up with newer content. And if you want to go more direct with your support, toss your hard-earned dollars and reals into the tip jar. Follow the links below to Subscribe Star, PayPal, or if you watch this on BitChute, just use the green tip pledge button on the video player. Moreover, having gotten through the money-grubbing capitalist portion of this video and still being around to hear this, I've got to say I'm surprised. I mean, given how many euphemisms and code talk I use to duck, dodge, and dance around YouTube's WrongThink AI and see if they'd even let me talk about these things, I think Hasan Piker, the things he talked about, you must have a high tolerance for this stuff, and it's impressive. Thanks for watching.